So, fine. Okay, I didn't intend to intro there. That just happened by accident. Uh, look at the system again. See if there's any. Yeah, the skip mode on this, but I don't know which key does skip. So we're gonna have to learn that today by trying different keys and see which one does skip. Yay! So let's back out and load. So here's what my thought is. Well, what did I load? Continue. I'm going to, let's see what's in the quick load. It's probably not what I want. Let's see what's in the regular load. Okay. Yeah, the hatred within the female part of myself. Or whatever weirdness. So I'm going to load this. Now, the last time I got Satoru drowns in the bathroom in A. And I immediately thought at the end of that recording that I would just go back and to the beginning and try again. But I think there's probably an easy way to keep it going past day 2, and that is to simply take the pills. Because it can't turn out exactly the same way if I took the pills, because ideally the pills would work and I'd be asleep. So I couldn't fill the bathtub up with water, so I couldn't have something to be drowned in. It's very counterintuitive, because you'd think if you took pills that put you to sleep, you'd be way more likely to die. You'd be like, it's way easier to get murdered when you're asleep than when you're not asleep. So I don't know how you're supposed to guess that, but I guess you're not supposed to fill the bathtub and then you're fine. Or you get a different death ending. So we're going to try for that. Now, I don't know how to do skip. Because I went back to my old save. So let's try F1. No, quick save. Oh, okay. So this gives me the potential things that could do something. So enter could do something. Okay, let me put this somewhere else on the screen here. Oh, you can't leave it up. Do I have to like snip this? Okay. Snipped. Back to the game. So, okay. You probably didn't see what I was talking about there. What happened is I pressed F2 and that brought up what maps buttons on, say, like an Xbox controller or a PS controller or something like that onto PC buttons. What does that tell me? It tells me that which potential PC buttons could do something. Right? So I don't try every single button on the keyboard. I know which buttons I could bother to try. So arrow keys do things, I presume, but the WASD does something, but I don't know what it does exactly. Space. F1 does quick save. What does M do? M probably goes exits. No, M just advances. N just takes off the screen. J is backlog. H is that. O. That just takes the screen off. P. That just advances. Okay, and then WASD. How about Alt? What if I just hold down click? No. Holding down. Oh, if I hold down M, it goes into a.
それじゃあ始めようか。その前に言っておきたいことがある。どうか僕らはまだ
Okay, so M goes. So holding down M goes into auto scroll mode.
HAL18 便
J. What about H? Nope. O.
それが僕らの乗っていた
Nope.
小型旅客機の正式名称だ。飛行機は乗員乗機順調に飛行を続けていれば午後5時には空港へと到着しているはずだった。
Okay, so that's not helping me. Let's try numpad 5. Nope. Numpad multiplication. That's probably skip. Okay, so I figured it out. It's numpad multiplication that skips forward. Skip speed's pretty fast. So this is the whole rescue thing we have to fast forward through. Ryogomi's story, that is. I contemplate how could Huni know that stuff? He seems to have done this before. This scene's called Falling into Autism. These scene titles, wow, gee. And then last time I picked try eating the hardtack. However, for some reason that is oddly not highlighted as if I chose it already. So I want to look in the settings perhaps. Does H do that? Options. Color code previous choices. Yes. Okay, so I do have it on yes. Interesting. But anyway, I chose try eating the hardtack last time. So, if for reason that's not color coded, so I guess I didn't do. It's just how his mechanics work or something. I don't know. To figure that out. I forgot to save the system data. So look in the mirror, and you go in the bathroom and you look at your junk. That's not yours. I hit try smiling last time. Let's keep going. We walk in on a girl. Well, she's kind of like tending to you at this point. And you get accused of having dissociative personality disorder, even though you're body swapping. Probably across time. I think I hit check the door first. Front entrance. This happens automatically if you don't choose it first. Then you walk on her and she gets mad because you dude walked in on a girl in the bathroom. The door was open, I suppose. You choke her out. Okay, I'm gonna save here. Okay, and then I'm gonna go to the title. Yes. Yes. And see if it actually... Oh, I somehow didn't save the system data by accident. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, continue. Load. Okay, load this. Yes. And then we're gonna click, just because for some reason we didn't save the system data, I don't know why, we're gonna hit don't take them. And then we're gonna continue, we're gonna skip and repeat the ending I got last time. That's stupid. Okay, and we fill up the bathroom with water, fill up the bathtub with water, and then the body swaps back. Find the bra undone. Learn about Mayuzumi, knew who Satoru was, and has a picture of herself, probably taken by Satoru. As if he was her old boyfriend. That's what I picked last time. Stew. Yeah, this is like a big oversight. I somehow didn't save the system data. Day goes to January 12th, because I'm going to die. We die January 12th for some reason. Okay, now we get the bad ending. Yes, save the system data. Okay. Now we have, in the clear list, Satoru murdered in the bathroom in A. Cool. I don't know why that wasn't saved. So now let's load from load 2. Yes. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know why it didn't save. Interesting. That's a problem. Hopefully that doesn't happen to me again. Okay, now I'm going to take them and see what happens differently. I decide to take them. Due to my nervousness, my mind was excited even though my body was tired. The way things are, I don't think I'll be able to sleep. I walked to the refrigerator that was included with the room. I opened its door. There was a bottle of mineral water inside. About 500 milliliters PET bottle. Okay. There were 3 bottles all unopened. Would that make you, like, is that kind of like mineral oil and it's a laxative, it'll make you poop? There were 3 bottles all unopened. I took out one of them. I removed the cap from the bottle. A glass there. Several glasses stood upside down in a row on top of the fridge. I picked one up and poured about a third of the water in. I twisted the cap back on and returned the bottle to its place. I'm going to leave the cursor in this field of view. I know it's kind of ugly in the video, but sometimes if you take it out, weird things happen. It's on like the Windows bar right now. I removed the pills from the package. They were white and circular. I suddenly thought of something. It would be fine if I take 2 at once, right? I forgot to confirm how many I'm supposed to take. When thinking the phrase sleeping pills, I can't help the negative mental image I have of them. If I take the wrong amount, it would be the last time I ever go to sleep, never to awake again. Not really. Like if you take like a double dose of what's that? Trying to remember what the active ingredient in NyQuil is. I don't remember. If you take a double dose of that, I don't think you end up in a chubby emu video. Which is like, a 2 times dose. Huh. Don't recommend it though. Ha. I stare at the pills, make up my mind, and pop them into my mouth and wash them down with water. I never really understood this. Obviously, it is easier for me to swallow a pill if I have like water to encase it. But I can very easily swallow a pill without water. It didn't taste like anything. It tastes like chalk usually. With the medicine package empty, I returned the water to the top of the refrigerator with a small amount of water remaining in it and left it there. Wow, so cold. It got a little colder. Of course, my body was soaked to the skin. In order to try to calm myself down, I decided to take a bath. If I take a while to catch my breath, some break in my mental deadlock might appear. I persuade myself with that. It might be carefree, but I wouldn't be able to hold myself together for much longer like this. After giving the bathtub a quick rinse, I began to fill it with hot water. I sit on the edge of the bathtub and doze off, staring at the surface of the water. Engulfed in comfortable steam, I'm attacked by drowsiness. No, it's not simply on the level of drowsiness. I'm seriously sleepy. It feels like I just fall asleep like this. I'll just fall asleep like this. It almost feels like I were dizzy. The inside of my head had become dull. My body was incredibly heavy. It was most likely the medicine taking effect. Shoot, I have to wake up. Suddenly, heard sounds coming from the room. Maybe Yunie had come to visit. Yunie, is that you? I called into the other room. No response. I poked my head out of the bathroom and inspected the state of the room. Nobody was there. This doesn't seem a whole lot different than when I don't take the pills, unfortunately. There wasn't any human presence. Was it just my imagination? I tilted my head and returned my eyes to the bathroom. The water looked warm and full of vitality. However, I'm so sleepy. All I'm doing is standing here, and even from that, my feet are becoming unsteady. This is bad. If this is going to happen, I should have bathed before I took the pills. It happened again. Again, I heard a sound. It must be Uni playing a prank on me. Geez, I'm already so tired. I left the bathroom staggering. There wasn't anyone in the room after all. Maybe he's hiding. Uni, stop messing around. Come out already. But there was no reply. And I didn't feel anyone's presence. How weird. Now, does skip work? It does. That's concerning, but I think that's probably a repeat. Let me check. To be certain, I looked anywhere that could be a hiding place. Looked in the closet wall. Still, Uni was nowhere to be found. Okay, oops. It worries me how skip might be strange functioning. There wasn't anyone in the living area nor the kitchen. It seemed like everyone had returned to their rooms. The whole place was silent as the grave. In that silence, I started to feel insecure. The entire institution didn't have very much human presence at all. The tub was going to overflow. I panicked and turned back to the bathroom, staggering. The hot tub water had already filled about 80% of the tub. I gently put my hand in to test the water. A little hot, but that heat felt nice. And at the same time, my drowsiness increased even more. My hand continued to splash and stir the water in the bathtub. Wait a second, I am a man right now. I became aware of a fatal error. There's no way I can get into a bath naked when my body's a man's. It's kind of wrong. I remember that scene from before and immediately recalled how cold it had been. And then suddenly, the light in the room went out. What? It happened so suddenly and I was in a state of confusion, trying to figure out what was going on. It was completely dark and I couldn't see a thing. Just two... This should be the same, right? Hopefully the skip is a good kind of skip. Okay, do the same thing.
Mayuzumi-san.
Same thing. Okay, so I just learned that yes, this turns out differently, but this is a bad way to skip. So numpad star is a bad skip. That's a problem. Okay, so I'm going to try to backlog back out of this. Okay, so yeah, definitely numpad star is the wrong kind of skip. Okay, so I'll try to find a numpad button that's a different kind of skip that's actually a good skip. At the bottom of the deep, deep cave, on the other side of the other side of the other side of the grim, grim darkness, beyond the deep abyss, It felt as if I was falling, anywhere and everywhere. The sense of loss. Whoops. It's not right. Nothing has been lost. There's nothing to begin with. Not a thing. There wasn't a single thing here. Emptiness. Pure emptiness. There's nothing else other than pure emptiness. But if indeed there was nothing here whatsoever, then what about me, the person experiencing this emptiness? Who is the existence known as I? The emptiness is like zero. Does zero really exist? If it really exists, then what is this zero? If it doesn't exist, then when does one actually become one? And like that, from the interval between 0 and 1, I was forcibly ripped out. How? What? When I came to my senses, my head was lying on a desk. I was holding a pen in my right hand, as if I had fallen asleep without realizing it. A deep, deep, dreamless sleep. No, maybe I did have a dream. My head was all muddled and confused. It was as if some puzzling, incomprehensible image was spinning over and over in my mind like a vortex. It was not the same as that feeling you get when you just wake up. It was a different feeling of confusion. In fact, if I had just woken up, it would be surprising if my mind was clear. All I could feel was some slight tiredness. I wouldn't understand it too well, even if I thought about it. Anyway, I fell asleep, and when I woke up, when I knocked my head on the desk, isn't that a little strange? I was sleeping in the bed. I don't remember moving toward the desk at all. Now to think about it, there was no desk in the cabin. Then what is this place? As I started to panic, I calmed myself down and scanned my surroundings, pondering. There was a bed, a desk, and a closet in the room. They were all very tidy and organized, giving off a clean, cozy feeling. But at the same time, they also somehow felt hollow and fake because of it. As if things like human warmth had been ripped out of them by the roots. Ah, I finally understand. This is Sphia. I look at the back of my hand. The hands were rugged and large, not like the hands which belonged to Fuyukawa Kokoro I was familiar with. I transferred again, huh? I don't know how to play it.
また転移しちゃったんだ。
Okay. And as I let out a sigh, suddenly I realized I had to pee. I stood up and opened up the door to the unit bath near the exit of the room. Okay, does plus do anything? Numpad 5. Now, I don't know of any, like, good skip. Like a skip type that doesn't, a skip that actually, like, doesn't stop at what you've already read. Like, that stops at what you've already read. Alt. Maybe plus is, but it doesn't work in this instance because I've already read this or something. That's interesting. To work on that. Each room was equipped with not only a shower, but a toilet as well. I rubbed my sleepy eyes and I reached for my belt and froze. This was a man's body. Oh, they're going to talk about peeing standing up. Just sit on the pot, it works too. So in order to relieve myself, that would mean I looked down timidly. There was a strange feeling between my legs. In other words, I have to use my hands and hold on to that. I have no other choice. Because right now my body is a man's body. I'm just doing this in order to take care of a normal biological process. That's all. I'm not touching it for any weird reason or anything. I understand all that in my mind. But still! I burst out of the washroom and fell prostrate in the middle of the bedroom.
落ち着け落ち着くんだ私
You have to decide if you're going to retract the thing. Like, okay. Calm down, me.
深呼吸よ深呼吸するのよ
Take a deep breath. I'm not going to try to voice act that. Maybe it's because I was just too shaken up, but I couldn't even take proper deep breaths. They're using a woman voice actor for this, which just makes it really stupid. I had paid more attention to myself. If I paid more attention to myself, I would have noticed that it was almost as if I were giving birth. An uncomfortable feeling was radiating from my abdomen. The intense urge to pee was building and building there. Oh no. Oh no.
このままじゃ大人失格になっちゃう。
If this keeps up, I won't be able to call myself an adult. I'm already 20 years old, a grown-up, an adult, and the person whose body you're in might be like a 27-year-old because he was the girlfriend of, he was potentially the boyfriend of Meizumi, and Meizumi's like in her later 20s. So, because women tend to go for boys that are older than them, he could be really, this body could be older than 20, by a lot, potentially. And as an adult, no, as a woman, no, as a human being, I must not wet my pants.
そうよ。たかがトイレに行くだけ。
That's right, just going to the washroom, that's all.
気にしなければいいのよ。
No big deal at all. I crept into the bathroom. What am I doing talking to myself? That question suddenly crossed my mind, but it pushed it to the back of my head.
いつも通りすればいいのよ。
Yeah, just do it like
ズボン
always.
を下ろしてただトイレに座るだけ。
Just pull down your pants and then sit down on the
下
toilet.
は見ないように。
Don't look down.
それだけでいいんだから。
Just do that and everything will be alright.
頑張れ。頑張れ、私。
I can do it, I can do it. Cheering myself on, I lowered my pants, just like I've always done. And just like a normal trip to the bathroom, I took a seat on the... Once again, burst out of the washroom. I fell to my knees, hanging my head in the middle of the bedroom, with your pants down!
普段トイレに行くとき、狙いを定
When I usually go to the washroom,
めるなんて作業をしないのよ。
I never had to do all this work just to aim. Men have to perform one extra step when they go to the washroom, Fuyukawa Kokoro. In the winter of her 20th year, learned this valuable lesson. Well, I don't need to know. I didn't want to know. Yeah, it's true. If you sit down without touching it, there's a tendency for it to shoot kind of on the front, surface, this frontward part of the bowl, and the splash can splash up over the top, between the seat and the bowl. At least on an American toilet. So you want to push it down in. Also, I think usually when you're an adult, people like to pull the Japanese men will have a foreskin. You want to pull that back a little bit, expose the meatus. Otherwise, you do a kit, you pee into the foreskin, which is for some reason you just don't want to do that. When you're a little kid, you have to because it doesn't retract. But when you're an adult, you don't. And so you don't. Didn't need to know. I didn't want to know. It's instructions to girls on how to pee with a man's body. But
どうすればいいのよ。
what should I do? Just push it down. Hold it in. That's actually an option you can pick in this instance. Okay, mentally prepare and go.
限界だよ。
I can't take it anymore. Writhing, I made my way towards the bathroom once again. And you're going to experience that, the urethra is longer. So it's going to, there's going to be a bigger delay between when the sphincter, which is actually a name for that if it's a man, it's called the prostate. But anyway, at the base of the bladder releases and when it actually comes out the meatus. If someone were to see me like this, I probably wouldn't ever be able to get married. But I tried not to think about it. If I ever thought about it, I'd probably burst into tears. I made up my mind and lowered myself onto the toilet. So tired. I collapsed onto the bed, completely exhausted. Because I peed. For the first time in my life that I've gotten this worn out just going to the washroom. If this personality exchange keeps going from now on, then I might have no choice but to get used to this. But this is just too much for a young lady like me. It's wait until you get a nocturnal emission or something. I mean, if you're a man and you get swapped into a woman's body, you get similar issues where you get a period or something. You have to figure out how to put the tampon in, or I guess if you didn't have an application where you needed to put a tampon in, you have to deal with that stuff. And you have to walk and actually, like, ask somebody, like, Suzukage, like, how do I do that? What, do you have any pads or something? Well, this is just too much for a young lady like me. There's no way I can get used to it that easily.
ということは、ちょっと待ってよ。
Wait a second, so that means I just realized something truly horrifying. The owner of the body I'm currently in other words, the person... Yes, now you finally realize this. Yukito Satoru is probably inside my body at the shelter cabin right now. Yes. At least you're not on your period, right? So that means he has the freedom to do whatever he wants with my body. Yes. I shuddered all over at the thought of some man I've never met fooling around with my body. Well, it depends. Why am I doing the pin clicking? That's something that got me... Throw the pin far away from me. That got me in trouble before. I hate fidgeting. Stop fidgeting. I never met fooling around with my body. Yes, we're going to get into the whole intellectual nonsense of whether or not if you touch yourself while in somebody else's body, what that means. And I would presume that is a form of sexual assault. But because body swapping is confined purely to fiction for all time, we don't have to bother with that kind of sexual assault ever happening. No, I groaned instinctively. Feeling somewhat irritated, I paced back and forth in the room like a caged animal. But I still couldn't seem to calm myself down. That's when I noticed the note that had been left on the table. I grabbed it and held tightly in my hand. I'm not really sure if I should say nice to meet you or thanks for visiting again. I doubt I've ever known anything that I've had this much trouble coming up with a greeting for. I'm Yukito Satoru. I think you've already noticed it as well, but it looks like we're currently experiencing some kind of personality exchange. Okay, so he actually knows what he's doing and wrote the note, unlike Kokoro, who is just floundering around. I don't know the exact reason for this. What I do know is that you're a woman named Fuyukawa Kokoro. It was a note from the owner of this body, Yukito Satoru. I plopped down on the bed and kept on reading anxiously. The first thing I want to clear up is about your body. How do I say this? I'll be careful not to touch or look at anything unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't know what your impression is of me from when you saw my face, but I am a gentleman. So please don't worry about that. These words, it was as if he saw right through my worries. I patted my chest in relief. I don't know if he really didn't look at or touch my body. Well, your bra was unhooked. But at least he at least anticipated that I was worried about what I was worried about, so I can see he's someone who's concerned about me. That made me feel more at ease. I continued reading the note. Forgive me for jumping right into business, but I have a few things I must discuss with you. The first thing I want to do is make sure what's happening is really a personality exchange. From what I can tell, it seems that during the time my consciousness leaves this body, your consciousness takes place within it. Likewise, whenever your consciousness leaves your body, my consciousness takes possession of it. As if we're two drivers alternating between two different cars. But I don't have any conclusive evidence that this is what's happening. Right now, all I have to go on are the words of the people around me. I heard that at Sphia, my body addressed itself as Fuyukawa Kokoro while I wasn't around. And it was at the shelter cabin, Yogomi-san told me the owner of the body was someone named Fuyukawa Kokoro. So, if we were to believe that what they said, then we have no choice but to accept that your consciousness and mine are coming and going between each other's bodies. But, even though I know Fuyukawa Kokoro's face and voice, I haven't had a chance to communicate with your actual personality. If we use cars as an analogy, then I'm familiar with Fuyukawa Kokoro, the car, but I have not met the driver within. I won't beat around the bush. The point is, I have my doubts that this personality called Fuyukawa Kokoro really exists. So I was hoping you would leave some kind of evidence behind that proves you actually do exist. Since we can't talk to each other directly, can you at least write down some kind of reply on the paper this note is written on? Anything will do. Just leave some evidence behind that Fuyukawa Kokoro's personality controlling my body exists. And try to do it some other way besides put notches in my thigh. If you get that reference. If you can, I'd like you to record the time. The time I'm interested in is the time that you took over my body. From this, we can determine whether the transfer of consciousness happens at a fixed schedule or if it occurs randomly. If we can figure out that kind of pattern to it, then wouldn't it be more convenient for both of us? We'd be able to realize when there's one more minute until we transfer to finish up whatever we need to do by then. But if it happens at random, well, we'll figure something out if and when that turns out to be the case. Even realizing that the transfers are happening at random is a step forward, right? Right. That reminds me, I forgot to write down something very important. The truth is or maybe my body, to be more accurate, the truth is my body is... And then he swapped.
これで終わ
Is that it? I turned the paper around. The back was completely blank. That was the end of his
り
note.
なんなのよも
What was he thinking? Jeez. I slammed my hand down on the
う
table.
俺の体はどうしたっていうの
What's up with that? My body is. Yeah, I hope he's not diabetic.
こんなところで終わられたら余計に気になるじゃない
Wouldn't ending a note at a place like that just make me even more anxious?
バカじゃないのこの男
What an idiot. Jeez.
大事なことだったら初めに書きなさいよね
If it really was something really important, then write it down at the beginning of the note.
いつ人格変換が起こるかわからないっていうのに
We don't even know when the next personality exchange will happen. I went silent with those words and I stared at the note. Oh, that's why. The note is probably unfinished because the personality exchange occurred while he was still writing it. And so, I read over the note once again. He started the letter off with his concerns about me. And he kindly tried to ease my worries before continuing on to more important matters. Thanks to that, the creepy feeling I had about a few moments ago disappeared. I wouldn't for me, because I don't just trust people like that. To initiate contact with this character named Satoru, whom I knew absolutely nothing about, and be able to know some things about him was a big step toward reassuring me.
頼れそうな人でよかった
He seems to be someone I can count on. Personality exchange isn't usually a situation that people have to consider, but it has indeed happened. If my partner in this had been a wimp who only freaked out and went, what do I do, then we really would have no chance of making it out.
ひとまず
But,
そういうことはなさそうね
well, you might be that kind of person, Kokoro. He doesn't seem like someone who would do that, at least for now. I looked at the note inscribed with those logical words. With my fingers, I traced the neat, organized handwriting. I can indeed feel a sense of partnership from it.
相棒か
Partners, huh? Satoru is going through the same unexplained circumstances as I am. I have a friend who will do his best no matter what he's up to.
よし
Rush! Oh, all right then. I gathered up my willpower and jumped to my feet with energy. Just as I thought, having a friend with me is more encouraging and reassuring than anything else. I could feel just a bit of courage building inside of me.
いっけない
Oh no, I forgot. Satoru's note asked me to write down the time. I glanced at the alarm clock sitting on the bedside table. The hands coated with fluorescent paint pointed at 1:17. So this is 1:17 p.m. on January 12th? Or August 12th, we don't know. That's the weirdness.
もうお昼じゃない
Oh, it's already past noon. Did I oversleep? I was overwhelmed by a lot of things that happened yesterday, but nevertheless I slept for way too long last night. That was really just too shameless of me. No way. I shook my head in a hurry as Lynn's annoying smile appeared in my mind. Lynn's? Now, about how long has it been since I woke up? So the time it took me to go to the washroom and read the note was about...
だいたい10分ぐらいかな
I think it was about 10 minutes. There was a pin lying on the table. I turned the note over and wrote on the other side of it. The transfer happened at 1:07 p.m. I have to write a response to his note, but I put the pin down for now. Maybe it's because I felt relieved, but I suddenly felt absolutely famished. My stomach rumbled loudly.
男の人ってお腹の音も大きいのかな
Do all guys' stomachs make such a loud noise? Well, it's probably nothing to do with guys here, but you can stereotype if you like. I mutter as I head towards the kitchen to find something to eat. I mean, I can't just leave my partner starving like this, right? Imagine if the taste changed.
あら
Breakfast is
ユ
good
キ
for
ド
you.
くん呼びに行こうと思ってたのよ
Oh, Yukido-kun, I was just about to come and get you. I bumped into Utsumi as soon as I left the room. I gave her a
お
slight
はよう
bow.
ございますってもうお昼でしたね
Okay, so Ohayo gozaimasu, right? Okay. Good morning. Well, I guess it's already afternoon.
みんな朝は遅いから、これから朝食よ。
Well, everyone got up pretty late, so we were just about to have breakfast. When I gave her a slight smile after pausing for a moment, Utsumi's eyes narrowed. As if she was looking at a child who had just gotten a skinned knee, her expression held a mix of sadness and affection.
そうなんですか。寝坊したかと思っちゃいました。
Oh, is that so? I thought I had overslept. She looked like she had something wanted to say, but she just smiled.
お腹空いてるでしょ？
You're starving, right?
はい、ペコペコなんです。
Yep, I am famished, although they probably use a mimetic word there.
一緒に食べましょう、冬川さん。
Let's eat together then, Fuyukawa-san. Huh. Yep, she figured it out.
ありがとうございます。
Okay, it's arigato gozaimasu. She nodded and headed down to toward the dining area. It's like I know kind of like the phrasebook things. I too followed behind. Utsumi addressed me as Fuyukawa Kokoro. She probably thinks that the other personality named Fuyukawa Kokoro has surfaced. To acknowledge the existence of another personality and accept it like everything was normal, that's not something that can be easily done. She does seem to be very well versed in psychology, but for some reason that doesn't feel like it's the only reason. An aura of true benevolence, or perhaps an air of all-accepting kindness, that's the kind of impression you get from her.
やっほー、サトル。
Hello, Satoru. Or Satoru. I don't know what the syllable stress is. Yuni, who was already at the table, gave me a friendly smile. I don't know how much Japanese has syllable stresses. Could be just like, even like Satoru. The frightened look he had just yesterday had disappeared. Besides Yuni was Unabushi, no Hotori, who gave me a quick bow when she saw me. Every time I see her, my heart starts a bit. It feels like Unabushi Kaiko is right here in front of me. Well, she doesn't know which is which yet, so she might be wrong. But it seems her personality has settled on that of Suzukaje Hotori for now. Inubushi Kaiko is nowhere to be seen. It would be cruel to treat Hotori like a ruthless murderer. I greeted her then with a smile to conceal my
お
thoughts.
はよう、二人とも。
Ohio, you two. I too sat down at the dining table.
ねえねえ、さっき何やってたの？
Hey, so what were you doing just
さ
now?
っき？
Just now? What was he talking about?
さっきテラスから外に出てったじゃん。
Yeah, just now you went out from the terrace, right?
で、何やってたのかなって。
So what were you doing? That must be something Satoru had done. While I was asleep in the shelter cabin, Satoru had already woken up here at Sphia and had done something. And of course, there's no way I would know about it.
内緒。
It's a secret.
へえ、教えてよ。
Come on, tell me.
ダメ。
No,
ケチ。
stingy.
ユニくん、そんな言い方しないの。
Uni-kun, you shouldn't talk like
人
that.
には人のプライベートってものがあるのよ。
We each have our private things to deal with, right?
チェー。
Even though he's complaining, Uni doesn't seem to care all that much.
カリカリ、お腹減ったよ。
Kali, I'm starving.
はいはい。ちょっと待ってね。
Yes, just hold on a bit longer. Yu's attention has long since shifted to his stomach.
お待たせ。
Here we go, enjoy. Utsumi brought the meal out on a tray. On the menu was toast, bacon, and eggs, and tuna salad. The savory aroma of the toast rose to our noses and made our stomachs groan in hunger.
いっぱい食べてね。
Oof, make sure you eat plenty, okay? Oh, we got artwork. Does the cocoa in the body of Yukido-kun or Toru or whatever his name is have an elbow just off the table like that? Another elbow on the table? It's like both elbows are on the table. Are we eating or are we arm wrestling? Now, it's kind of a silly rule. It has to do with not tipping the table over. But most people have that rule drilled into them as a kid enough they don't just naturally, instinctively do it anymore. According to the clock, it should be considered lunch already, but let's not worry about such details.
おいしいよ、カリー。
That's so good, Callie. So I guess Callie is his name for Utsumi Callie. Okay. Hotori nodded enthusiastically in Yuni's compliment. It was a flawless Western breakfast. Utsumi really has some skills. The food was absolutely delicious. Right, see that there's eggs and bacon and toast. Perfectly brown toast, soft boiled eggs that melt in your mouth. Well, they don't look soft boiled in the drawing, but okay. And a big serving of tuna salad, which again doesn't look like the drawing, but okay. With a breakfast like this, one can't help but feel happy. And what kind of Western breakfast has tuna salad, soft boiled eggs, and toast? I mean, there's like the United States kind of breakfast, which is like fried eggs, bacon, and toast with all kinds of crazy variations. It's hard to nail down what an American breakfast is. Some people would say that it's a McDonald's Egg McMuffin. But anyway, or there's like British breakfast, which is fried bread, which looks a lot like toast, black pudding, ham, beans, tomatoes. And so I don't know where that tuna salad comes in. Tuna salad goes in a sandwich and you eat it for lunch. With a breakfast like this, one can't help but feel happy.
ありがとう。でもちゃんと噛んで食べなくちゃダメよ。
Thank you. Make sure you chew your food properly, okay? Someone doesn't chew. Yatsumi said gently to Yuni, who was stuffing his face with food. I never really got that because, I mean, doesn't really matter that much. When Utori heard that, she nodded as if she made up her mind about something. Chew, chew, chew. She chewed her food with a really serious look on her face. She really takes her chewing seriously. She just looked so cute, I couldn't help but smile. Hotori looked confused by my reaction. The Hotori personality seems to be the type that doesn't betray emotions easily. I guess it's supposed to be portray, but it says betray for some reason. But anyway, she seems like a good person.
おかわりもあるから、もっと欲しかったら言ってね。
There's more, so just let me know if you want seconds, okay?
はーい。
Okay.
はーい。
Hi. Saying that, Utsumi points to the bowl with my tuna salad in it.
あら、キュウリ残してるじゃない。
Yeah, did you leave all the cucumbers?
それは、すいません。キュウリ苦手なんです。
About that, I'm sorry. I don't really like cucumbers. Yeah, but you see, you have Satoru's mouth now. So you might like them if you're using, like, his mouth to eat them. We're gonna get into the whole philosophy, the whole thing of, like, what part of the brain creates food, decides the food preferences. Is it the part that swaps or the part that doesn't swap?
どうして？美味しいのに。
Why? They're delicious. How I feel about cucumbers is pretty neutral. They aren't actually delicious or not delicious. They're just like wood. It's like eating lettuce. Yes, they have a flavor, but the flavor is very neutral in opinion. Right? It's a distinct flavor, but it's not really a good or bad flavor. Yuni reached into his bowl and nonchalantly stuffed the cucumbers into his mouth. Reached into my bowl.
なんだか青臭い感じがするでしょ。だからダメなの。
Sort of a weird taste, don't you think? That's why I don't like it.
残しちゃってすみません。
Sorry for leaving them.
だったら言っておいてくれればよかったのに。
If you didn't like them, you could have just told me. Except people don't expect to find cucumbers in their breakfast.
苦手なのはかぼちゃとキュウリね。
So you don't like pumpkin or cucumbers, right?
え、かぼちゃは嫌いじゃないですよ。
Yeah, I don't dislike pumpkin, but...
でもあなた。
But Utsumi had an amazed look on her face. But then suddenly nodded as if she understood. She's like, oh yeah, the personality changed.
冬川さんの嫌いなものがキュウリで、ユキドくんはかぼちゃ。そういうことなのね。
Fuyukawa-san doesn't like cucumbers, and Yukido-kun doesn't like pumpkin. That's how it is.
DID の症例では、思考にも変化があるっていうから。
They say that with did, taste and preferences can also change. Uni had a complicated look on his face when he heard that.
今は心の人格が入ってるの？
Right now, the Kokoro personality is inside?
そうだよ。
That's right. He looked like he wanted to say something, but he bit into his toast as if trying to stop himself. Even though he didn't reject me entirely, he probably still not willing to accept that there's a personality called Kokoro inside Satoru's body. Especially because he saw Kokoro himself in a woman's body, in person.
他に何か嫌いなものがある？言っておいてくれれば出さないようにするけど。
Do you have anything else you don't like? If you tell me, I'll try not to use it.
あとは酢豚の中に入っているパイナップルは許せません。
Let's see, I absolutely can't take things like pineapple and sweet and sour pork. Doesn't it just kind of get... You weirdo. When she heard my answer, Otori nodded with a look of agreement on her face. Itsumi smiled and
和
said,
食って果物を温かくして食べる料理少ないからびっくりしちゃうのよね。
because Japanese cooking doesn't usually involve cooking fruit. It surprises people, right? Wait, so Japanese people don't like pineapple on their pizza?
そうなんです。
That's right.
それ以外は大丈夫です。
Other than that, I'm okay with anything. By the way, if you're curious about my position on pineapple on pizza, I'll just say, I like it.
了解よ。
Got it. And just like that, we finished our breakfast. I thought about things as I had my coffee after breakfast. What happened at the shelter cabin right now? Well, how do you know that Satoru does or doesn't drink coffee? You can give him a caffeine withdrawal, like, in an inconsiderate fashion. Like, if someone were to swap bodies with me, I'd not recommend they drink coffee in my body. Right? It's not... Or I'd ask them not to do so. I was able to fill myself with such a delicious breakfast, although they probably would want to, but... I drink a cup of coffee after the meal in the comfortable heated room. The people I'm with here are all kind people too. Even though it would be a different story if the Inobushu Keiko character ever emerged, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say this is a really peaceful place. On the other hand, they're trapped in an intense blizzard on that frigid mountain.
彼ら？
They? Making that sound like someone else's problem caused a cold chill to run through my body. Because that's your body, right? And Satoru once walked outside in the cold with it. It's not someone else's problem. In this reality, and even now, the disaster that happened on the mountains is still affecting the body of Fuyukawa Kokoro. Perhaps at this very moment, Fuyukawa Kokoro's body is crumbling away. I should think of it as that urgent of a situation. What am I doing? I could just kick myself. But you'd be kicking Satoru, so don't, please. This isn't designed to be relaxing and drinking coffee.
電話ってどこにあるの？
Hey, is there a phone here? If I get hold of a phone, I can contact a rescue team and let them know about the survivors. There was a sign outside the shelter cabin that said Mount Akakura Emergency Shelter Cabin. It's probably a public facility, so then the mountain rescue team should know exactly where it is. But Utsumi and Hotori just looked at each other.
電話はないわよ。
We don't have a phone here.
え？携帯も？
Not even a cell phone?
携帯どころか通信手段は一つもないわ。
Never mind cell phones, there isn't any way to contact others from here at all.
そんなバカな！
How can this be? I stood up unintentionally. This is Sphia. It's not only a public medical center, but also a self-supporting facility. Not having any way to contact the outside world is...
あれは？あそこに置いてあるパソコン。
How about the computer sitting right there? Itsumi shook her head.
外部には接続されてないの。物理的に。
It's not physically connected to the outside. In other words, you can only use it to actually just do computations.
外部にはって。じゃあ、どこに？
Not connected to the outside, then where is it connected to? It could be not connected to anything, it just be a processor.
私にはよくわからないわ。
I'm not too certain of that myself. Does she mean that there's only a LAN set up here in Sphia? Meaning local area network? But this is already more than 10 years into the 21st century. It's hard to believe there's still a computer that's not connected to the internet. Well, there isn't one when someone's trying to set up Windows. Because they don't want to have to make a Microsoft account. I dashed to the living area. The PC was there. No, PC isn't quite accurate there. The monitor, keyboard, and mouse were there, but the body of the computer was nowhere to be seen, and the wires gradually disappeared in the direction of the bed. I gripped the mouse and shook it. The PC, which had entered standby mode, resumed its breathing.
冗談だって言ってよね。
Tell me it's a joke. Silently playing, I clicked on the icon to check network settings.
嘘でしょ
It's a lie, right? There was access to Sophia's internal LAN, but it didn't connect anywhere outside of it. Just to be sure, I opened the browser window, but it wasn't connected to the internet. The error could not establish connection was displayed on the screen. Itsumi and Otori came over and stood behind me. I turned around and screamed.
他に外部に連絡を取る手段は
Is there any way to get in touch with the outside?
ないわ。物資を運ぶ船が定期的に行き来しているから手紙を渡すことができるけど。
I'm afraid not. There's a cargo ship that periodically visits this place, so you can send letters that way, but...
それはいつ
Then will it come?
一月くらい先よ。
Probably in about a month.
そんな
No way. The mouse slipped from my hand. Looking like a haggard rat, I swung like a pendulum from the side of the desk.
どうして連絡を取りたいの？
Why do you need to contact
避
someone?
難小屋に私たちがいることを警察に
To report to the police that we're up there in the shelter cabin. I closed my mouth in the middle of the phrase. To explain that situation, I have to tell them everything about the Fuyukawa Kokoro who was in the shelter cabin after the plane crash and about the personality exchanges. Would they believe it? It makes me a touch anxious.
驚かないで聞いてください
Please don't be too shocked with what I'm about to tell you. I'll explain the personality exchange.
そう。
I see. After my explanation was finished, Itsumi hugged me. She pulls my head to her breast. She believed me, I thought.
そ
But
れがあなたの冬川心に宿った記憶なのね。
this is the memory that dwells in you, Fuyukawa Kokoro, right? I raised my
違い
head.
ます確かに私の体は山で遭難を
No, my real body is stranded up on the mountain
そ
net.
れは冬川心という人格が作り出した幻想よ。珍しい症例だけど。
This is an illusion created by the personality called Fuyukawa Kokoro. This case is rather strange, though.
DID となった場合、通常は出現した人格は他の人格の存在を知らないものよ。
Usually, in cases of DID, the existence of the other personality is unknown to the main
だ
personality.
けど稀に他の人格の存在に気づくことがある。
However, in rare cases, one personality will notice the presence of the other's existences.
そういった場合、主人格の存在を認めたくなくて、副人格が主人格を殺そうと自傷行為に走ることもあるの。
In such a case, the alternate personality refuses to accept the dominant personality and tries to kill it, inflicting severe wounds on the
有
body.
機道君の中に生まれた冬川心という人格も自分が副人格と認めたくなかった。
The personality called Fuyukawa Kokoro that was born inside Yuhiro-kun couldn't accept that it was an alternate
自
personality.
分にも主人格となり得る体があると主張するため、人格交換という幻想を作り出したのね。
She dreamed up the illusion of that personality exchange, claiming she is the dominant personality and has a body.
違います私はちゃんと存在するんです赤倉岳の山の中に
It's wrong. I really exist! I'm at Mount Akakura.
そうでしょうね。
That's
有
right.
機道君が作り出した冬川心の人格は墜落事故で亡くなった冬川心さんをもとに作られたもののようだから。
Because that personality, Fuyukawa Kokoro, was made by Yukito-kun to reproduce the Fuyukawa Kokoro-san who died in the plane crash.
赤倉岳に自分の体があると主張するのも無理はないわ。
Claiming that her body is on Mount Akakura isn't that surprising.
そうじゃなくて
No, it's not like that. I bit my lip. She didn't believe me. Utsumi seemed like an expert in psychology. Of course, Utsumi's explanation is much more believable than something unrealistic like a personality
ほ
exchange.
とりちゃんは
Hotori-chan? I glanced hopefully at Hotori. She shook her head, her face slightly pale. Hotori also doesn't believe me. And then I noticed, won't Uni believe me? He experienced the crash together with me. Surely if I can make him believe that inside of Yukito Satoru dwells another personality, Fuyukawa Kokoro, then maybe he will believe the personality exchange occurred.
ユニは今どこに
Where's
部屋
Yuni?
へ行ったと思うけど。
I think he went to his
あ
room.
の、話聞いてくださってありがとうございました。
Thanks for hearing me out.
今は信じてもらえないかもしれないけど、本当のことですから。
Even if you don't believe it right now, it is the truth.
冬川さん。
Fuyukawa-san. I left the living area. Looking for Yuni, I went over to his room. I haven't noticed any signs of Yuni's presence in the room.
どこに行ったんだろう。
Where did he go, I wonder? I peeked into the living area and the underground storage area, but I couldn't find Yuni. In last resort, I returned to Satoru's room.
もう、こんな大事な時にあの子ってば、何してるんだろ
Oh, where is that kid at a time like
う。
this?
避難小屋の自分の命だって危ないかもしれないのに。
Maybe the me at the shelter cabin is in danger at this moment. Mumbling meaningless words, I heaved a sigh. I felt that he was acting strange yesterday, but I think about it again, it's no wonder. Doesn't Yuni exist in both places, both Sphia and the shelter cabin? Moreover, when I met with Yuni at Sphia, even though this is a strange way of referring to him, for the first time he said that he vividly remembered the crash. That means the Yunis in both places have that
これっ
memory.
てどういうこと？
But what does it mean? Again, my original interpretation was because this is the same Yuni, but just at different times. Right, so he remembers the crash happening, say, 6 months ago. Although it gets more complicated because when it like skipped, when we went over the day change, it went back to January, so. It's so hard to breathe, as if I was up to my neck in some kind of mire. What was engulfing me was a mire called Enigma.
しっかりして。
Pull yourself together, Kokoro.
整理してみるのよ。
I should try to sort out my thoughts. I sat on the bed. I decided to lay out the problematic points one by one. First problem number 1. Regarding the real situation of the personality exchange phenomenon, according to the note, I consider the existence of this body's personality, Yukido Satoru affirmed. This is the proof that suggests the personality exchange is really going on. But why the personality exchange occurred, the reason for it, the principle behind it, and the way to break free from this phenomena, I didn't have the slightest idea about any of them. Personality exchange, those are real simple words, but behind them there is a very deep mystery. And the second problem. Why are there 2 Yunis? Both the shelter cabin and Sphia, I've seen Yuni in both places, and both of them possess the memory of the crash. I noticed that due to the personality exchange, my personality seems to be jumping back and forth between these 2 points. But isn't this a big mystery as well? I have 2 hypotheses for it. First, maybe they are twins. But even if they are identical twins, how likely is it for them to have both their family and given names to be the same? Second hypothesis, one of them is a copy of the other, in other words, a clone. A law on cloning was passed in the country last year, in 2010. This is also wrong. Before that, cloning had been banned outright on the basis of ethics, but this law was then drafted. There have been several issues surrounding cloning, but it looks like they have finally been resolved. But a small number of clones may have integrated themselves into our society before the law was established. So it wouldn't be much of a surprise if Yuni were a clone, and there's no telling what clone would do when he's confronted with the fact he's a copy of the original. And this is Sphia, the special psychiatric isolation facility. Could it be that Yuni... No, wait. It's too early to reach a conclusion like that. How do you remember the plane crash then? And you still wouldn't name the clone the same name. I should confirm all this with Yuni himself later. And... yeah, it's just... she's wrong. However, I did notice that cloning did come up again in the third game. Cloning will not let rest. We still haven't seen Curé syndrome come up though. Third, why does the newspaper article mention the shelter cabin? The newspaper article describing our deaths and spread inside the cabin can't be explained by conventional logic at all. And then the fourth problem, what is the real purpose behind this facility? Even Inabushi Kaiko, even though the present personality Suzukaje Hotori has been placed under house arrest here. So this is probably Sphia, the location I was heading to. But Satoru and Yuni are here too. Plus, there are other 4 people here altogether, which makes no sense. There are only 4 people. This should be a medical facility except psychiatric patients. There should be doctors and other staff here. I never really considered this problem myself personally. Plus, even if this place is meant to be self-supporting, I just assumed that, like, Sophia's public image was different than what it really was inside. Plus, even if this place is meant to be self-supporting facility, the level of freedom given to those committed here is much too high. Well, I mean, they're kind of imprisoned by the weather, and because they don't know where they are. They're imprisoned by a very unique, clever way. In which Kaiko is a murderous monster who killed 12 innocent people. Yet, even she isn't being restrained whatsoever. And any cooking utensil could turn into a deadly weapon in her
い
hands.
くらなんでもそれは危ないわよね。
That's just too dangerous, and you're just too judgmental of murderers.
この施設どう考えてもおかしい。
Any way you look at it, this facility seems strange. I was at my wit's end. There are too many. You could just ask Satoru in your note. There are too many mysteries to think about alone. I have a mountain of different things to consider. It feels like I'm being squashed under that mountain.
そうだ。
That's right. I've forgotten about an important thing. I don't have a valuable partner. Don't I have a valuable partner in all
メモ
this?
の返事をしなくちゃ。
I have to reply to his note and ask him these questions. I rushed to the table and picked up the pen with my left hand. I also have to ask what the is she lefty-handed? That's interesting. Wait. If she's lefty and then she figures out this guy is righty, that's going to be interesting. But she already managed to write the time, though. I also have to ask about the continuation of the phrase "my body is" that Satoru left unfinished. I braced myself and faced the blank sheet of the note. One single line, transfer 1:07 p.m. was scribbled on it. Where should I start? Just as I thought, I flopped down onto the table. Of course, it would be best to start with the greeting. However, I don't like that kind of formality.
あ、いいこと考えた。
Oh, I thought of something good. Good idea. Why don't I make a cute little drawing? In that case, I should be something feminine and ladylike that reflects me. I have confidence in my skills. I may not look it, but I wanted to be an illustrator when I was in elementary school. Well, that kind of drawing should go with...
ここは春よ来いという意味も込めてチューリップよね。
Why don't you just ask him these important questions like, what is the facility you're in? Why are you there? And, you know, stuff like that. Is there anything I can do to help myself? Anyway, this will be a tulip that expresses the emotion of come on spring. But wait, is the tulip a spring flower? I'm not quite sure, but this is just a drawing, so I can ignore such trivial things. If you say tulips, you think of the Netherlands. I admire the idyllic scenery, even now. In particular, I've always loved the huge water wheels there. Without wasting any more time, I started to draw.
丸書いてちょん。丸。
Okay, let's draw around. Let's draw. And she gets body splotch while drawing, which makes it useless. Okay.
書いてちょん。
Round. The pen had changed into a cup.
あれ何これ。つ
What's this? Ah, hot. I was gripping a spoon in my right hand. In my left hand was an aluminum cup. Inside was popping hot rice gruel was seasoning.
私は
I'm unable to comprehend the situation. My dumbfounded voice hung in
食
the
べな
air.
いの？
Aren't you going to eat?
いらないんなら私がもらうわ。
If you don't want to eat, then I'll help myself. From beside me, my cup was snatched away.
あ、ちょっと
Ah, hold on. My gruel was snatched away by Miyazumi. I see, so another personality exchange happened. I had returned to the shelter cabin again. The lodge had joined with death, filled with the smell of burning firewood combined with a piercing cold.
そうだ。
That's right. I remembered to check the time on Satoru's note. I lifted my right arm in order to see my wristwatch, only to see that my beloved watch wasn't there.
あれ
Huh? I impatiently searched within my memory. It wasn't in my pocket. I wonder if I'd lost it. But when? I looked around and found my wristwatch in an unexpected place. It had been fastened with care to the bunk bed's ladder. Without understanding it at all, I removed the wristwatch from the ladder.
どうして腕時計がこんなところに。
Why is my wristwatch over here? Did Satoru take it off and fasten it there?
腕時計がなんで腕時計って名前なのか知らないのかな。
Why does he think they call it a wristwatch anyway? While complaining, I fixed the wristwatch back onto my wrist. The time was 1:40. As I smelled the fragrant scent of the rice gruel, my stomach growled. It feels like my stomach is completely empty. Even though I just ate breakfast a moment ago before, was what I thought, but I realized that naturally that was wrong. The one that ate breakfast was Satoru's body, it wasn't my own. Resentfully, I looked at Mayuzumi's direction.
さっさと食べない方が悪いのよ。
It's your fault for not eating it fast enough.
生きるか死ぬかの瀬戸際なんだから。
We're in a life or death situation after all.
だからって人の食い物を奪うなよ。
Even so, don't just take another's food. However, as if she were gulping it down, Mayuzumi finished eating the rest of the gruel.
残念ね。食べちゃったわ。もう返してあげられないわね。
Too bad I ate it. Can't give it back now.
だくしょうがないな。こういう非常事態では食べ物で揉めるのが一番危ないんだぞ。
This can't be helped. An emergency situation like this, nothing's more dangerous than to start fighting over food.
どう危ないかは言わないけどな。
Why it's dangerous, I won't say though. What? Cannibalism? You can't say that? You'll get demonetized? Higomi's face creased in a frown. From that expression alone, it was clear what he wanted to say.
もうおばさん食い意地だけは張ってるんだから。
Geez, the only thing you put effort into is your gluttony, you old lady.
電車でも狭い隙間にお尻突っ込んで席を確保するタイプでしょ。
You're the type that squeeze your butt into a small space just to be able to sit down on the train, aren't you?
ガキや黙ってろ。こういう時はずぶとい方が生き残るのよ。
A brat like you should shut up. In times like this, it's the shameless ones that survive, as if surviving is a virtue.
体もずぶといんだからダイエットでも考えりゃいいんだ。
Your body's shameless too. You should think about going on a diet.
なんだって？
What was that?
こらこら、せっかく蓄えたエネルギーを無駄遣いするんじゃない。
Don't go wasting your energy you finally built up on such useless things. Saying that, Yagomi held out his cup.
もうあらかた食っちまったけど、食べるかい？
It's already half eaten, but do you want some?
僕のも分けてあげるよ。
I'll share mine with you too. I held my hands up in
あんまりお
refusal.
腹空いてないんで大丈夫です。
No, I'm not that hungry, it's fine.
それじゃ私が。
In that case, I'll... Maisumi made a grab for Uni's cup, but her hand was slapped away.
リンにはあげないよ。
If it's Lin asking, I won't give you any.
ケチ
あ
ね。
Ow, you stingy. Mayusumi's greed makes me want to... I would voice my
まゆ
objection.
ずみさん、多少は譲り合う気持ちとか持ったらどうですか？
Mayuzumi-san, why don't you try making a little bit of a compromise?
刑法第37条。自己または他人の生命、身体、自由、または財産に対する現在の危難を避けるため、やむを得ずにした行為は、
Penal Code Article 37. To avoid imminent danger to oneself or others' life, body, freedom,
こ
or
れによって
property.
生じた害が、避けようとした害の程度を超えなかった場合に限り、罰しない。
In case that the level of harm, the original danger would have been caused if not exceeded, there will be no punishment carried out against the party in question.
ただし、その程度を超えた行為は、情状により、その刑を減刑し、または免除することができる。
And, however, if he exceeded, the penalty may be lightened or otherwise exempted, depending on the
緊
circumstances.
急避難って知ってる？
Ever heard of emergency measures?
自分が死にそうな時は、相手を蹴落としてもいいのよ。
When you're about to die, it's okay to step over your partner, you
そ
know.
れとこれとは違うでしょ。
Those are completely different things, right?
みんなで助け合っていかないと生きていけないですよ。
Unless we all help each other, we won't survive, right? Izumi glared at me hatefully. The intensity of that glare made me flinch
綺
unintentionally.
麗事はやめてよね。自分の食い物取られてムカつくってはっきり言えば。
Just stop with your petty words. Why don't you admit you're pissed that someone took your food? What? Izumi quickly stood up from the table and returned to the corner of the room. It seemed like they had become her territory. Well, that's because I am mad that someone took my food. But is that a problem? Slipping into the nest of blankets she built, Mayuzumi hugged her knees and was
気
still.
にするなよ。
Don't worry about it. As if to comfort me, Yogomi placed his hand on my shoulder. Thus the meal, savage in comparison to those in Svea, ended. Blackness. Oh, here we go. Cause and reason. Why is it that the flow of time feels so slow when there's nothing to do? In the end, what we call time is a subjective thing, vague and prone to frequent fluctuations. It felt like an eternity had passed since that meal. At long last, the outside had become wrapped in darkness. The four of us occasionally had fragmented conversations with frequent pauses in between. Most of the time was spent in a continuing silence. As I starting the night watch, Shogomi had quietly camped himself in front of the drum stove with his eyes shut. It was probably to preserve his strength. Meizumi, too, had shut herself up in her own territory, having not moved even once. Wow, she got really stiff. And blood clots. My stomach, which had gone without dinner and made a woo-woo-woo-woo sound, continued to make groaning sounds. Wanting to conserve my energy, I pulled my blanket over my head like the other two and just kept my eyes shut. Due to the hunger, it felt as if my stomach had a fever. I struck my stomach with my fist and endured the hunger. That's right. I thought that the sensation of hunger was a cue as to the true nature of the situation. The personality exchange occurred, and I remembered getting hungry, even though I had eaten my fill at Svea. In that case, it showed that the entirety of our bodies didn't change as well. It was a possible hypothesis, but with this, I could reject the possibility that my body had transferred into that of Yukito Satoru and jumped over there. I advanced the speculation while watching the steam rise from the kettle. If it was my brain that felt hunger. The feeling of the need to eat comes from a signal sent out by nerves in the digestive system that is felt as hunger. Then it would be wrong to think I would think there's more to it than just the digestive system. Like your blood sugar has some bearing on it and the amount of amine groups in your blood too. But anyway, then it would be wrong to think that our brains were switching back and forth, wouldn't it? As to the likelihood of that, I tried to find some way to verify it. However, I concluded that it was impossible to do so. I felt hungry immediately after transfer, as soon as my body became that of Fuyukawa Kokoro. If our brains themselves had switched, the blood inside the brain should have accumulated sugar to be used for energy to some extent. In other words, I shouldn't have remembered that I was hungry immediately. It would be appropriate to think that my mind never separated from my body in this world, that the hunger signal was continuously being sent out.
っていうか、脳が飛ぶって考え自体、バカみたいよね。
In the first place, seriously thinking that my brain could have jumped is pretty stupid, huh? Well, yes. I don't know why we need to clarify this stuff. If it was literally the organ jumping, then you would get a terrible headache. Wait, but it would be Satoru, though, who would have a headache. I guess that would make sense, because you wouldn't be in that situation. Because Kokoro's, cranial cavity, the skull cavity, would be smaller than Satoru, because on average, men's skull, interior size is larger than women's. So if you try to cram the man brain into a woman's skull, you would cause some issues. This is on average. There's variation between the sexes, so there's some overlap, right? It's just an average thing. It also doesn't really mean anything about the total capabilities of the mind, although it is clear that men minds and women minds are different. I remembered in a small voice. Not to mention the shape's going to be different too, because everybody's brain shape is different. Even if my brain jumped into Satoru's skull and perfectly united with the nerve tissue in his spinal cord with a pop, what awaits after that would be a rejection response, attack beyond all imagination. Something like swapping brains is nonsense. Why do we have to clarify this? As expected, this can only be interpreted by the... Yeah, it's another good point. You get the immune response, right? My personality, my consciousness being exchanged, there is no other explanation. Right, so you get the entire, things like libido and so on of Satoru. But what is consciousness in the first place? to me at Sphere was definitely Fuyukawa Kokoro's personality. The me at Sphere. I had entered Yukito Satoru's, but it was me. Are you saying that the personality is independent from the physiologic? Well, that's... Souls are canon in this universe. If I had entered Yukito Satoru, but it was me... Okay, if I borrowed the figurative comparison from Satoru's note, the driver operating the car, known as Yukito Satoru, is unmistakably Fuyukawa Kokoro. The reason I think the me in that world and the me in this world are the same is... What? What is me to begin with? While thinking this, I came to a single
それ
conclusion.
は記憶が連鎖しているから。
But according to Tsugumi, you are software. It's because our memories were connected.
ちょっと待って。
But wait a
記
second.
憶って脳に蓄積されるものじゃなかったっけ？
Weren't memories located in the brain? I saw this documentary on TV. As it pointed out, the mechanism called memory is simply put a network of neural circuits. For example, say you wanted to memorize the word apple. When memorizing the word apple, it is necessary for your brain cells to branch into dendrites and link them into each other, connecting the synapse. Physically, it is red, circular, and a fruit. A variety of different elements must be remembered in combination for you to be able to recall it. The circuit necessary for remembering apple requires the recollection of the word apple to be completed. In other words, memory is asking, in what pattern are your brain cells connected? It goes without saying, but Satoru's brain and my brain are different. Even so, the memories that were supposed to have been engraved in my brain only were recalled by Satoru's brain. Does that mean that the moment my consciousness flew into Satoru's brain, the neural network inside his brain changed and connected in the shape of Fuyukawa Kokoro's memories?
そんなことって可能なわけ？
Is something like that even possible? Absolutely. Why? Because this is fiction. Or is it that the host computer in my skull in the shelter cabin and only the client terminal is where Satoru is? Like a remote control robot. Rather than the neural circuitry of the brain changing in the blink of an eye, the possibility of this being the case feels much higher. So like you're SSHing in. I wrapped myself in my blanket and lay down with a soft thud. My head was starting to hurt from all this thinking. Mayuzumi doesn't Suddenly I noticed both Yumi and Yagomi letting out a groan similar to
やっぱ
mine.
り濡れたのが原因なのかな。
Is it because it got wet after all?
この小屋に来るとき雪まみれになっちゃったから。
Because it got covered in snow when we reached this cabin?
だろうな。ラジオがあれば情報収集できると思ったんだが。
I think so. We're talking about the GPS, I guess. If we had a radio, we'd at least have a source of information. The two of them were looking at a portable radio they were holding, scrutinizing it carefully. Radios are really simple, though. You just need an antenna, and then you need a filter. They have to demodulate, though. That's the issue. Okay. Feeling revitalized, I inquired.
そのラジオどうしたの？
That radio, what's wrong with it?
僕のコートのポケットに入ってたんだよ。今気づいたんだ。
It was inside my coat pocket. I noticed it just now.
でもうまく聞けないんだよ。
But I can't hear anything very well.
乾けばなんとかなるかもしれないけどさ。
If we dry it, we might be able to use it.
よし、物は試しだ。分解してみるか。
Alright, time to test it. Want to try taking it apart? Why do men always recklessly try to take things apart? Because what else are you supposed to do?
ねじ回しがないよ。
Yeah, don't we have a screwdriver?
ナイフで代用しよ
Let's use a knife instead. Yagomi seemed somehow cheerful and took a survival knife from his breast pocket. He tried to unscrew the radio using the knife edge, but the knife was too large in the first place, so it was a fierce battle.
う。ダメだ。分解は無理だな。
It's no good. Disassembly is impossible.
がっかり。
How
仕
disappointing.
方ないさ。
It's no surprise. Just crack it open. You don't need the outer casing. You don't need the packaging, right? Having expressed his disappointment, Juna returned the radio to his pocket. Now I'm like tapping the tablet pen. Stop fidgeting, making annoying clicking noises. And with his hand in his pocket, he put a smile as if he were playing a trick.
ねえ、ココロン。
Hey, Kokoro. Uni rushed over and brought his face close to mine.
なんちゃっと来て。
Come here for a second. He said, lowering his voice and winking. Pulling at my hand, Uni led me toward the basement storeroom.
どうしたのよ、ユニ。
Trust and deception, so I guess Uni's gonna do some trick thing. What is it, Uni? As they reached the underground storeroom, Uni glanced around and confirmed no one else was there. And then, with a smile that looked like he'd come up with a good prank, he put his hand in his
これ、
pocket.
あげるよ。
I'll give these to you. In the palm of his hand were two
ポケットに
candies.
入ってたんだけど、人数分なかったからさ。二人で黙って食べちゃおうよ。
They were in my pocket, but there aren't enough for everybody. Let's secretly eat them ourselves.
でも、黙って食べるのは。
But eating them in
コ
secret.
コロン、お昼にご飯食べられなかったでしょ。だから、ね。
Kokoro, you didn't get to eat lunch, right? That's why,
それ
okay?
に、これは僕のだからね。トンビに飴玉さらわれる前に、一つずつ食べちゃおう。
Besides, these are mine, so let's eat them before Tonbi finds out we have them. Tonbi probably refers to Meizumi. I thought it would be unfair to the other two upstairs, but... That sound effect is so unrealistic. Fuyukawa Kokoro's body was hungry. It's not like we can break up hard candy and divide it between
そう
us.
だね。申し訳ないけど、いただいちゃおうかな。
That's true, it's not really fair, but I guess I'll have
そう
one.
こなくちゃ。
That's how it
コ
should
コ
be.
ロンはどっち舐めたい？
Which one do you want, Kokoro?
メロン味とパイン味があるんだよ。
There's melon flavored and pineapple flavored ones. The one that's not pineapple, of course.
そうね。
Let's see. She does not like pineapple.
メロン味をもらっちゃおうかな。
I guess I'll take the melon flavored one.
お、高級志向。
How high class. Uni placed the hard candy firmly in my hand. Somehow it felt as if we were in a candy store.
ありがとう。
Thanks. I unwrapped the candy and tossed it in my mouth. It may have been a melon taste artificially produced using sweeteners, but it was very delicious.
あれ、そういえばココロンってメロン味は大丈夫なの？
Now, that I think about it, are you alright with melon flavored stuff, Kokoron? Uni smiled, popping the pineapple candy into his mouth.
大丈夫って？
What do you mean?
嫌いなのかもって思って。
I thought you might hate it.
どうして？
Why?
ほら、ココロンってキュウリ嫌いでしょ？
Well, Kokoron hates cucumbers, right?
メロン味ってキュウリに蜂蜜かけた味って言うじゃない。
They say melon flavoring is derived from cucumber honey, don't they?
ココロンみたいな血糖書付きのキュウリ嫌いはメロンもダメなのかと思ったよ。
I was wondering whether someone like Kokoron, who was from a certified pedigree of cucumber haters, would be fine with the melon flavor.
キュウリとメロンは全然違うよ。
Cucumbers and melons are completely different. Messed up.
どのぐらい違うかというと、食べ物かそうじゃないかぐらいの違いがあるわ。
If you ask how different they are, it's like the difference between something that's edible and something that's not.
ココロンってば前世でキュウリにいじめられたんじゃない？
Did you get picked on by a cucumber in your previous life, Kokoron?
そうかもね。
That might be. We both rolled the candy around our mouths and smiled. What is messed up here, what I'm noticing, this is the big oomph, is how does Uni know? Because nowhere in here did Kokoro tell Uni did Kokoro tell Uni that she doesn't like cucumbers? And it couldn't have been Satoru because Satoru likes cucumbers. So he wouldn't have, like, Satoru and Kokoro's body wouldn't have told Uni that. So the only way you would think he would know, is this Uni is the Uni from chronologically after the Uni we see in Sphia, which suggests that There was something that happened in January. Kokoro died. Uni went to Sphia. Then Uni somehow went back from Sphia up to Mount... what's the mountain called again? Akakura. So we went back up to Mount Akakura later on. So it's like we're not actually jumping forward in time to Satoru's body. We're actually jumping backward in time to Satoru's body. And this is... But it still doesn't... But it doesn't really explain how there's like a version of Kokoro's body that's here.
ねえ、ココロン。
Hey, Kokoro.
結婚しよっか。
Want to get married?
はあ
Aren't you 11 years old? You can't even like you physiologically cannot consummate.
今、なんておっしゃいました？
Pardon me, but what did you say just now?
結婚しようって言ったんだけど。
I said, let's get married.
どうしてそうなるわけ？
How did we get to this topic? And you must realize that she's a body swapper, right? Like
いきなり何言っちゃってるのよ、この子は。
what's this kid saying all of a sudden? My face turned red as I replied. Uni's sudden request had panicked me, and I was suddenly angry.
そういうのはお互いの了承と同意があって初めて成立するものであり。
Something like that can only come about when two people mutually agree on it together. Well, you gotta introduce the topic somehow.
ココロンは僕のこと嫌いなの？
Do you hate me, Kokoron?
そんなことあるわけないじゃない。
Of course I don't.
じゃあ好きってことだよね。僕もココロンのこと好き。
Oh, then that means you like me, right? I like Kokoron too.
はい、これで成立だね。
Okay, now it's official.
違う。
That's wrong.
もう冗談なのに、そこまでムキにならなくたっていいじゃん。
Geez, I was just kidding. You didn't have to get so angry. Kidding. What'd you expect to
冗
happen?
談にも程があるの。
Jokes have their limits too,
そっかな。
I guess.
でも
But
仮に私とユニが結婚したとしたら、私はクスダ心になるのか。
if you and I got married, I'd be Kusada Kokoro, wouldn't it? Wouldn't I?
そうとは限らないよ。
That's not set in stone, right?
知らないの？夫婦別姓の法案。2008年に可決されたじゃん。
Didn't you know the dual surname bill was passed in 2008? Wait, in Japan, do they actually like legislate this stuff? That's interesting. In the United States, you don't have to change your name. Women do, but you don't have to. Now that he mentioned it, that's right. But when I get married, I want to change my name to be the same as my spouse's. It's a dream of mine. After a moment of friendly chatter, I gathered my resolve and decided to ask him. Both of these are wrong. Both of these are a red herring. They look stupid either way. This is more insulting, though. So I'm going to do this one, because I know it's a red herring, right? So I'm not going to pick the clone, because it's a red herring either way.
ユニ、あなたって双子とかじゃないよね。
Uni, you're not a twin or anything, right? Uni exists as two people. The simplest explanation would be if he were a twin. If he were a twin, that would take care of the contradiction of witnessing in both Sia and here. However,
僕は双子じゃないよ。
I'm not a
そっ
twin.
か。
I see. It seems things don't always work out so easily in this world. Uni placed his hand on the ladder, grinning like a Cheshire cat.
それじゃあ僕上に行くね。
Well, I'm going back up.
二人っきりでずっと下にいたら怪しまれちゃうからさ。
The two of us are alone for too long, they might get suspicious.
エッチいことしてるんじゃないかって。
They might think we're doing something
子
dirty.
供が何言ってるの？
Children shouldn't say things like that. Is that even physiologically possible for you? After I said that, Uni looked up at me with a glance that gave me chills.
子供かどうか試してみる？
Want to test whether I'm a child or not? It's like, imagine if Anakin said this. What? My heart started beating harder at his strangely seductive way of speaking. My cheeks reddened ever so slightly.
もうココロンこそ本当に20歳？実は子供なんじゃないの？
Geez, Kokoron too, are you really 20? Aren't you really a
こ
child?
ら！
Hey,
冗談だよ。
怒らないでココロン。
it's like, I don't have monetization on my YouTube channel, but it's like, there goes my monetization. That's like, there's only a joke, don't get angry, Kokoron. Extremely edgy joke. Extremely on the edge. Uni apologized and teasingly stuck out his tongue. And, keeping one hand on the ladder, he pushed his hair back with the other. He did it as if he were some female judo athlete.
僕目印をつけてるみたいに髪を束ねてるわけじゃないよね。
It's not as if I'm setting my hair to put a sign there. Pointing at the clothing at his chest.
特にイニシャルの入った服を着てるわけでもないし、服の色に特徴があるわけでもないよ。
It's not like I have my initials embroidered and my shirt's colors don't have any really special characteristics.
何が言いたいの？
What are you trying to say?
双子がいるような特徴は僕は持ってないと思うんだけど。
I don't think I have anything that would hint towards me having a twin.
どうしてそんなことが気になったんだろうね。変なココロン。
Why were you curious about something like that? You're strange, Kokoron. The oddly precocious smile on his face, Uni said those last few words and climbed up the ladder. There was a single reason I thought he had a twin. Because I had witnessed two Unis. If he doesn't have a twin, how else is it possible to encounter the same person in two places? Both the shelter and the cabin in Svea. I unconsciously crunched the candy into tiny pieces while pondering, even though I wanted to take my time eating it. I rolled the candy that had become as small as a grain of around in the top of my tongue and enjoyed the fruit flavor. And
ど
then I
うしてあの
realized,
子私の好き嫌いを知ってるの？
there you go. How does that boy know what my tastes are? I talked about them when we were eating breakfast at Svea. Other than that time, I talked about which foods I hate. In other words, does this mean that the Uni that I had breakfast with at Svea and the Uni that just gave me candy held the same memories?
同じ記憶を持っている。
They hold the same memories. Just a moment ago, I was thinking something similar. After the relationship between memory and the brain, about the personality jumping to somewhere else in the world. It can't be. My heart jumped and I realized one possibility. Was Uni experiencing a personality exchange just like us? Whenever Satoru and I went a personality exchange, perhaps Uni's personality was undergoing an exchange as well? No, I can't say whether it's the same or not. Again, I think that's a red herring. I think it's just the same person at different times. I don't know which way the chronologies are switched now. It's confusing. I have evidence now that Svea stuff happens before the cabin stuff. But I think it's just different times. However, it is at least certain that Uni has been transferred between this shelter cabin and Svea like we were. No, it's not certain. The Uni that heard me speak at Svea had jumped over here. But how can Uni be both here and in Svea? In Satoru's case, in my case, we exchanged bodies. Perhaps in Uni's case, he occasionally gets the same body.
たまたま同じ肉体？
Occasionally the same body? I was amazed at the silliness of my own idea. And Uni's memory, as Uni's memory remains continuous between the shelter cabin and Svea, maybe his personality was jumping like ours was, so I deduced. However, that deduction didn't provide any answers about the mysterious phenomenon of seeing Uni in both places. Uni said he wasn't a twin. In that case, they're having an identical body over on the other side is impossible, isn't it?
待って、
Wait. Who said that Uni even had two bodies at the same time? It might be that I'm simply misunderstanding things. When I'm at Svea, I have no idea what the situation is in the shelter cabin. When I'm in the shelter cabin, I have no idea what the situation is at Svea. Which means this is at the very most, a hypothesis. What Uni is experiencing is, to borrow a word from science fiction, teleportation, is it not? Moreover, can it be considered that at the same time that my personality transfers, both Uni's personalities and body transfer as well? In other words, Satoru's doesn't meet with Uni? So much BS! Uni is constantly by my side. On top of that unexplainable phenomena, to pile on even more mysterious logic, a cruelly distorted thought came to me. Right now, I can think of only one possible explanation for the events happening around me. There's a way to verify it. It'd be best just to ask Uni. But I wonder, Uni hasn't shown any signs of being confused. You usually want to consult with someone if you fall into a situation where you're teleporting between places. Until I got my hands on some solid proof, I hold off on asking Uni. Those are my thoughts. I won't confuse them unnecessarily, because we're in the brink of an extreme situation here, which would be called a disaster. And she's still wrong. I nodded to myself once and put my hand on the ladder to climb up. When I go up, I see Yogomi sitting in a chair doing knife maintenance. So he's just sharpening a knife. He's wiping the blade of the knife with the cloth. Wondering what he's doing, I went to Yogomi's side.
お手入れですか?
Maintenance?
ああ、
Yes.
さっきラジオを分解しようとして使っただろ
I tried to use it to disassemble the radio earlier,
う。
right?
油がついたかもしれないからな。
I might have gotten some oil on it
使い
then.
終わったら汚れを拭き取る。ナイフにとっての常識だ。
Wiping off the impurities when you're finished using it is common sense when using a knife. Yogomi continued to carefully wipe the blade as he said that.
ナイフってのはデリケートな代物なんだ。
A knife is a delicate
きち
thing.
んと日頃から手入れしてあげないといざって時に役に立たなくなるからね。
If you don't take care of it on a regular basis, it might not be of any use when you need it the most. After I finished wiping, Yogomi started to carefully check the knife. Yep. It seems it was perfect. He nods in satisfaction. This is a Chekhov's gun. Then, sheathing the knife, he placed it on the surface of the table.
さて、ストーブの火を点検しておくか。
Well then, I guess I'll check on the fire in the stove. Leaving the knife where it was, Yogomi walked over to the stove. I picked up the knife out of curiosity. It was considerably heavy. Its weight was even greater than I imagined from its appearance. I pull it out of the sheath. The overall length was about 34.5 centimeters. Well, 34 is 17 plus 7, but there's a 0.5, so I don't know how that works. 345 is not prime. The blade itself was about 20 centimeters in length. The blade was thick, about 5 centimeters at the blunt edge.
すごい。よく切れそう。
Wow, it looks
って
really
いう
sharp.
か、これで切られたら痛そう。
Rather, it really hurt if someone was cut with this. It's like a combat knife used by French mercenary
おい、
troops.
危ないから気をつけろよ。
Hey, that's dangerous, so be careful. Yogomi noticed that I had taken out the knife without permission and told me to
怪
take
我する
care.
ぞ。
You'll cut yourself. It's just a knife, dude.
大丈夫ですよ。
Don't worry so much. I say baselessly. I softly touch the blade of the knife. The chilly coldness transferred to my fingers.
それにしても、すごいナイフですね。
Wow, this is a good knife, isn't it?
あ、歯に触れるんじゃない。せっかく拭いたばかりなのに。
But don't be touching the blade. I just finished wiping it down.
指の油がつくじゃないか。
The oil from your fingers will rub off.
ごめんなさい。
Sorry. I tried to apologize, and at that instant... Satoru ends up holding a knife. That's awkward for Satoru. When I came to, Yutsumi was standing in front of me. I jumped again. Flustered, I looked at the alarm clock above the bed. It was 6:03. As I turned to look, Utsumi was suddenly grasped my arm. Her face was a ghastly expression, no more one of
どう
anxiety.
かしましたか?
Is something wrong?
何かね、こう胸騒ぎがするの。
Something I feel uneasy.
胸騒ぎ?
Uneasy? Itsumi nods
とて
slightly.
も嫌な予感が。
I have a very bad feeling.
例えばそう、
For example,
今
yes,
にも地震が来そうな気配みたいな。
like an earthquake is about to happen.
地震ですか？
An earthquake? It's like she was grabbing his hand for a completely different reason, and then the swap occurred, and she's like, oh, a swap occurred, and she's trying to like explain it to the swap.
私の気のせいならいいんだけど、
Yes, it'd be nice if it were just my
あ
imagination.
の、ここって北海道ですよね。
This is Hokkaido, isn't it?
そうよ、稚内の沖合の島。
That's right, island off the coast of
北
Wakkanai.
海道って地震多いんですか？
Does Hokkaido get a lot of earthquakes?
私のイメージでは地震イコール東海地方って感じがして。
My image of earthquake equals the Tokai region around the eastern
地
sea.
震は日本中起こるわ。
Earthquakes happen all over
北
Japan.
海道でも大きな被害を出した地震が発生してる。奥尻島の地震とかね。
Even in Hokkaido, there are instances where earthquakes cause a lot of damage. Like the case of Okusiri Island earthquake, right? I remember hearing about that earthquake. With a kind smile, Utsumi
ごめんな
said,
さい、気のせいだったらいいの。不安にさせたら謝るわ。
Sorry, it's fine if it's just my imagination. I apologize if I made you feel anxious.
いいえ、
Not at
ま
all.
た冬川さんになったのね。
You've become Fuyukawa-san again, haven't you? This time I answered with a yes. It felt as if the floor had disappeared. My body floated as if it were falling. Oh, it's real. It really was going to be an earthquake. Okay. I thought she was trying to explain away why she grabbed your hand. No, a big tremor. It's an earthquake.
やっぱり
As I thought. I caught the staggering Tsugumi in my arms. Huddling together, two of us crouched to protect ourselves against falling objects. Crashing sounds came from things falling in the kitchen. This was probably a pretty severe one. And it just happened in the cabin too, with... So basically what happened is Satoru ended up suddenly holding a knife in the cabin, and then an earthquake happened while he was holding the knife. Great. Well, we're going to find somebody stabbed when we get back to the cabin. It's probably a pretty severe one. It's going to be a lot of trouble to clean up. The moment I had that thought, with the near-splitting sounds, all the lights disappeared. The earthquake caused a blackout. We heard a scream from a distance. It was Yuni's voice. Hotori was probably screaming voicelessly as well.
言ってあげなきゃ。
I have to go to them. Within the violent shaking, Utsumi tried to stand. I grabbed onto
ダメ。
her arm.
今歩き回っては危険です。
Now walking around now would be dangerous.
でもあの子たちが。
But the children!
揺れが収まったら言ってあげましょう。
I saturated the mic by accident. Let's go when the shaking settles. The intense tremor settled down after about 30 seconds. Utsumi stands up to snap to her feet and flies out of the room. I follow after her. Hotori's
私、
room.
ほとりちゃんの方見てきます。
Going to check on
わかっ
Hotori-chan.
たわ。
Understood. Utsumi ran towards Yuni's
ほとり
room.
ちゃん、無事。
Hotori-chan, are you okay? I came flying into Hotori's room. Unable to endure the fear, Hotori was shivering in the corner of the room while moaning weakly. And it wasn't a normal way of shivering. Her eyes were blank, her teeth were gritted, and she was shivering as if she were having convulsions. It was as if she had been thrown out onto the coldest ground.
怪我はない？
Are you hurt anywhere? She grasped onto me as I asked. Placing her cheek against my chest, she clung
怖
to
かっ
me.
たのね。もう大丈夫だから。
But you were scared now. How it's safe now. Hotori nodded, her lips quivering. I gently stroked her long hair, and with that, her shivers subsided. Yeah, but you're like a dude.
ほとりちゃんは無事だった？
Is Hotori-chan safe? Utsumi had entered the room. She was gently holding Yuni by the shoulder. Yuni's face was blue, but didn't seem as if he was injured. Gee, it's just an earthquake, people. It's like exaggerating the severity of the situation.
なんとか無事です。
He's all right, more or less. In somewhat relieved to look look had appeared on Tsugumi's face, but her expression was still stiff. Like the only earthquakes I felt are very not very strong. Like I felt earthquakes in my life, but very weak ones. But I can't imagine even as a kid just huddling in a corner shaking. That doesn't really make any sense. And Hotori isn't even like a kid; she's a teenager already, right?
よかった。
Thank goodness.
でもまだ安心はできないわ。
We can't relax yet. You have to clean up all the mess.
どうしてですか？
Why?
津波が来ないとも限らないから。
Because it's not certain there won't be a tsunami. Well, aren't you on the top of a mountain?
津波？
Tsunami? The image of a tsunami in the sea during winter didn't connect immediately.
奥尻の地震では津波によって大きな被害が出たの。
Yes, in the Okushiri earthquake, a lot of damage was caused by a
アオ
tsunami.
サギ島も地理的に同じような位置関係にある。安心はできないわ。
Osagi Island is in a similar geographical position. We can't let our guard down yet.
僕たち死んじゃうの？
Are we going to die?
大丈夫よ。私が守ってあげるからね。
It'll be fine. I'll protect you from a tsunami.
最後までちゃんと。
Properly until the end.
津波を防ぐ手立てはないんですか？高いところに登るとか。
Isn't there a way to protect ourselves from a tsunami, like climbing up to higher ground?
時計台はどうかな？あそこなら。
How about the clock tower? If we are there... Itsumi shook her head from side to side.
時計台は登る方法がわからないの。
I don't know how to get up to the clock tower. Well, Satoru does. But we're not Satoru.
わからない？
What, you don't know?
ユキドくんなら知ってるかもしれないけど。
Yes, Yukido-kan might know, but however, Satoru's personality isn't here right now.
それじゃあ津波が来ないことを祈るしかないってこと？
We can only pray that there won't be a tsunami?
そうなるわ。
It seems so. In slower cases, it can take a tsunami over 10 minutes to come. In the darkness, we made our way to the living area mostly by touch. Because the living area had a large window, it was slightly brighter there. Tableware was scattered on the floor of the kitchen and the living area in the shock of the earthquake. There were also broken objects there. Things like kitchen knives had fallen too, so it was dangerous. Looking at it made me once again realize that a huge earthquake had occurred. The television was still plugging into the power supply, but the blackout made the screen go black. We're unable to obtain any information. With me holding onto Yuni's trembling shoulder, we gathered ourselves together and held our breath. Thinking we might be able to hear the sound of a tsunami approaching, we strained our ears. The 10 or so minutes that passed felt like an eternity. What we heard was only the roaring of the raging snowstorm. The ominous sound of an approaching wave never arrived.
僕たち助かったのかな？心。
Okay, so I get it now. So the clock tower, if you look at the opening scene, in the opener, we see a building. The reason why I'm talking slow is because I'm writing this down. Whose layout is like that of Svea. There are 4 extensions to it, like the 4 bedrooms. I'm writing this down, so there's a big pause. And this is the last thing I'm going to say before you end the recording. So, and that has the clock tower. Meaning the clock tower is a part of Svea. Svea. And Satoru has the permission to go up there. So when he was going up that clock tower talking about Saul trying to kill David, he was at Svea. Interesting. Opening crawls are important, aren't they? I'll check that opening crawl again immediately after I do the stop, when I'm in like the menus and stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna do a save. O? No. P? He called me Cocorone. Whoops. Let's see here. H. There we go. Save. This one. Saving complete. Cool. And then let's go to the title. Yes, I do. Save system data. Yes, I do. Okay, the system data got saved. And now I can stop recording.